Imagine a moment where every instinct screams danger, yet your heart compels you to act. What if that act of courage reshaped your understanding of the wild and yourself? This isn't just a tale, it's a testament to the profound, unspoken connections that can exist between species. We're about to journey into the heart of the African savanna with Jack, a wildlife photographer whose life was irrevocably changed by a single, audacious act of compassion. Stay with us to uncover this truly astonishing tale. What Jack chose to do next would defy every rule of the wild and every expectation of human-animal interaction. When the laws of nature collide with the depths of human empathy, miracles can happen. Jack, a seasoned wildlife photographer, stood on the banks of the Mara River, his camera poised. He'd spent years documenting the raw, unscripted drama of the African wilderness, always adhering to the cardinal rule, never interfere. But on this particular day, that rule was about to be shattered. The river, swollen by recent rains, roared past, a churning torrent of muddy water and submerged debris. Then, a tiny, desperate cry pierced the air. A lion cub, no more than a few months old, had tumbled into the raging current. It was being swept away, its tiny paws flailing uselessly against the powerful flow. Jack watched, his heart hammering against his ribs, as the cub struggled, its desperate squeals tearing at his professional detachment. Every fiber of his being screamed to help. Without a second thought, Jack dropped his camera and plunged into the treacherous water. The cold, murky current immediately tried to pull him under, a relentless force that had claimed countless lives. He fought against it, every muscle straining, as logs and branches rushed past him. The cub was still struggling, a tiny, vulnerable speck rapidly disappearing downstream. Jack knew the Mara during flood season was a death trap, filled with hidden snags and currents that could drag even a seasoned swimmer to their demise. But he couldn't just stand by and watch a life perish. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he reached the exhausted cub. Its small body was limp, weak from swallowing water and traumatized by the ordeal. As Jack gently cradled it, the cub instinctively clung to his shoulders, its tiny heart beating rapidly against his chest. The dangerous journey back to shore began, a fight against a current determined to pull them both towards the crocodile-infested pools below. Could Jack truly withstand the fierce currents and hidden dangers? His arduous struggle was a testament to the unyielding power of compassion. Have you ever felt an urge to help, even against all odds? But the river's challenges were just the beginning. A much greater test awaited Jack on the riverbank, a test that would either seal his fate or forge an unimaginable bond. Imagine being surrounded by the most formidable creatures on Earth and feeling not fear, but a profound, inexplicable peace. As Jack finally dragged himself and the cub onto the shallower water near the bank, gasping for breath, his gaze lifted. What he saw made his blood run cold. There, on the riverbank, hidden among the acacia trees, stood the entire pride. 5 lionesses and a massive male lion, their amber eyes fixed on him and the cub he held. They formed a silent semicircle, their powerful forms motionless. Jack's mind raced, desperate for an escape route, but there was none. He was trapped, chest deep in water, holding their young, with 6 full-grown predators blocking his path to safety. Any sudden movement, any sign of aggression, could trigger an attack that would end his life in seconds. His knowledge of lion behavior screamed that this situation could only end in tragedy. Then, the largest lioness, clearly the pride's matriarch, took a step closer to the water. Jack held his breath, bracing for the worst. Just when Jack braced for the worst, something extraordinary happened. Her eyes, instead of blazing with fury, held something Jack had never witnessed in a wild predator's gaze: recognition and what appeared to be gratitude. The cub in Jack's arms let out a soft mew, a small call to its pride. The tense standoff broke. The matriarch stepped into the shallow water, her powerful paws creating gentle ripples. Every muscle in Jack's body tensed, anticipating an attack that never came. Instead, she stopped just a few feet away and did something truly astonishing. She lowered her massive head in what could only be described as a bow. The gesture lasted for several seconds, the other Pride members remaining utterly still, as if witnessing a sacred ceremony. When she raised her head, her gaze met Jack's directly, not the threatening stare of a predator, but the steady, acknowledging look of an equal. This moment redefined everything we thought we knew about these magnificent animals. This wasn't just a fleeting gesture. What followed was a series of actions that cemented Jack's place, however temporary, within the very heart of the Pride. What if true understanding transcends species, revealing a deeper consciousness we're only just beginning to grasp? The cub in Jack's arms grew more active, reaching toward its mother with tiny paws, making soft chirping sounds. The matriarch responded with gentle, chuffing vocalizations, the very sounds lionesses used to communicate with their cubs during nursing. "It's okay, little one," Jack whispered to the cub, his voice barely audible above the rushing water. "Your family is here." As if responding to his words, the matriarch took another step closer. Jack's heart pounded, but a new sensation replaced his fear, a profound sense of trust. Her approach was careful, deliberate, and entirely non-threatening. Then, in an act unprecedented in recorded lion behavior, the matriarch gently extended her massive head toward Jack. He could feel her warm breath on his face as she studied him, her intelligent amber eyes seeming to assess not just his physical presence, but something deeper, his intentions, his character, his role in saving her cub. Then, she began to groom Jack. Her rough tongue made contact with his forehead, a nurturing behavior she would show to members of her own Pride. The gesture was unmistakable. She was temporarily accepting him as part of her family unit. Jack remained perfectly still, hardly daring to breathe, as this apex predator showed him a level of trust that contradicted everything he thought he knew about wild animals. The grooming lasted only about 30 seconds, but the message was clear to every member of the Pride. Jack was not a threat. He was not prey. He was the human who had risked his life to save one of their own. Leading wildlife biologists, including Dr. Sarah and Becky, who later reviewed Jack's footage, were stunned. The grooming behavior exhibited by the matriarch is typically reserved for Pride members, she explained. For a wild lioness to extend this gesture to a human suggests a level of cognitive recognition and gratitude that challenges our fundamental understanding of feline social intelligence. The other lionesses began to move closer, their body language relaxed rather than aggressive. Even a massive male lion, who had been maintaining a watchful distance, padded to the water's edge and lowered himself into a resting position, a clear signal that he considered the situation peaceful. This remarkable encounter challenges our very definitions of empathy and intelligence. This wasn't just a fleeting gesture. What followed was a series of actions that cemented Jack's place, however temporary, within the very heart of the Pride. Some moments don't just happen. They transform us, leaving a legacy of belief, connection, and gentle understanding. As the Pride settled around their recovered cub, Jack slowly began to back away, hoping to give them space. But the lions had other plans. The matriarch looked up from her cub and made a sound Jack had never heard before in his years of documenting African wildlife. A gentle, rumbling call that seemed almost conversational. The other Pride members immediately responded, rising to their feet and positioning themselves in a formation that took Jack's breath away. The lions arranged themselves in two parallel lines, creating a clear pathway from where Jack stood to the acacia tree where his photography equipment waited. It was an escort formation, an honor guard protecting his safe passage away from the river. "Impossible," Jack whispered, his voice caught by the waterproof microphone still recording every moment. "They're seeing me safely out." The matriarch took the lead position on Jack's right side, while the massive male lion moved to his left. The four other lionesses flanked them, maintaining perfect spacing as they began a slow, ceremonial walk away from the riverbank. Jack found himself in the center of this extraordinary procession, surrounded by over 1,000 pounds of apex predators who were treating him like an honored guest rather than potential prey. The rescued cub, now recovered enough to walk, trotted alongside his mother, occasionally looking up at Jack with what appeared to be curiosity rather than fear. Every few steps, the youngster would brush against Jack's leg, a gesture of familiarity that left him speechless. As they reached Jack's equipment, the pride came to a halt. The matriarch approached Jack one final time, her massive head tilting slightly as she studied his face. Then, in a gesture that would be replayed millions of times, she gently pressed her forehead against his, the same greeting behavior lions use with trusted pride members. "Thank you," Jack whispered, not caring if the lions could understand his words. "Thank you for trusting me." The matriarch stepped back and released a soft chuff, a sound of contentment and farewell. One by one, each member of the pride approached Jack, briefly touching him with their noses or rubbing against his legs. Even a massive male lion participated, gently bumping Jack's shoulder with his enormous head before moving away. The rescued cub was the last to say goodbye. The youngster sat directly in front of Jack, tilted his tiny head upward, and released a small mew that sounded remarkably like a thank you. Jack reached down and gently stroked the cub's head one final time, both of them seeming to understand that this moment would never be repeated. As the pride began to move away, heading toward the shade of distant trees for their afternoon rest, Jack stood alone by his equipment, soaking wet and emotionally overwhelmed by what had just transpired. His action camera had captured every second of the unprecedented encounter. This story reminds us that kindness transcends all boundaries. Jack's experience proves that the boundaries between human and animal consciousness are far more fluid than we ever imagined. What he witnessed wasn't just animal behavior. It was a demonstration of values we consider uniquely human: gratitude, honor, and the recognition of moral debt. For Jack, who had started that day simply hoping to photograph wildlife, the encounter became a life-changing reminder that compassion is a universal language spoken and understood by creatures we're only beginning to truly know. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing to our channel for more tales of connection, hope, and gentle solutions from across the globe. We believe these stories can bring us closer, one inspiring moment at a time. And if you'd like to share your own experiences of unexpected kindness, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear them. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your spirits kind.